Good morning. Poly-Tics, Poly-Tics. So I got a couple things to say. Some of them are funny, some of them are not so funny, but they're all really dangerous. Something's going on with our kids. From Ferguson, Missouri, everywhere. To the missing kid at the bar. We don't have any social accountability to each other anymore like in the 60s. In the 60s, everybody looked out for each other, especially our children. The kids bouncing around off the bar seats. Why didn't somebody call the police or a taxi to take him home? So you'd know where he was, or if he had alcohol intoxication or, toxication, toxicity. Oh, why don't we care enough? The kid at the supermarket store. That kid looked like he'd been bullied. And he learned some bullying stances from somewhere. Every time we have a bully that goes off, we just kick it under the rug. We don't address bullying really as a national health risk in our children. The other terrible thing was, how in the world do you shoot dead a kid in the street, whether he is doing right or wrong at the moment? He was unarmed, and he's just a kid. When I moved to Florida in 1976, about 1979, something really funny happened to me that was not funny. But I'm going to tell it funny. I didn't know how to drive because I was a New Yorker. And of course, New Yorkers don't drive. We take the bus everywhere. So I got my little license. I was in nurse practitioner school and my daughter was 3. I went to another nurse's house to a little house party, and I left about 8 or 9 o'clock to take her home to bed. And along the way, this car started following me, and it had a light on the top of it. Well, in New York, that's a private taxi. So I ignored him, and then he started honking. Well, my mother raised me in the West Indies. You don't look at people that honk at you because you're a lady. And that's not how you approach a lady, honking. So I ignored him. Stop after stop, red light after red light. Finally, the guy jumped out of his car, started pounding on the hood and kicking the tires and said, "I'm the police! Pull this thing over! Pull it over! Pull it over!" I thought the man was crazy. So I kept driving because I was scared to pull over in the dark with no one nearby. So when I pulled over into a gas station where there were witnesses, he jumped out and he was screaming hysterically, "I can arrest you. I can impound this vehicle." And I said, "Would you stop screaming? Well, I don't know you're the police officer. I'm from New York. That's a taxi." And he looked at me like, "She's crazy." So he said, "Your tail light is out." And a new driver, I looked at him and further frustrated him and said, "What's a tail light?" At that point, he said, I can tow your car in." I said, "Please stop screaming. You're scaring my daughter and me. If you're going to take the car and let us, get a ride home." So I got home shaken up. He let me go. And I called my best friends, Ann and Jack. They're Polish. And I always called them when I had a problem because they always ran to the rescue. And it was kind of funny because Jack kept asking me, "Marilyn, what did the guy look like?" And I'm like, "What do you care? I'm explaining what happened and how horribly he treated me." And I said, "Jack," and finally I answered, "Jack, he was a short little bald black guy." And Jack said, "Marilyn, that man had a full head of hair before he pulled you over." Now, that's funny, but it's sad. I never got a handbook that told me that in Miami, every police area has a different uniform. It took me years. You're in tan, you're in blue. In New York, the cops wear blue. Everybody knows it. In every borough. What's all the inconsistency and the police having the audacity to walk up to you and assume you know who they are and what they're about? Give us a break. We're American citizens, not American prisoners. It's like you're living in a police state when they're supposed to protect and serve. And I'm saying this as a sister of a wonderful cop who retired. Come on, let's look at things logically. All one color. If you got different colors, when you get your license in that state, give us a book, a handbook with pictures so we can show our children these are the police. This is how you're expected to act if they call you over. Instead of you reacting based on your culture and your traditions and them reacting on a handbook and their culture, which supersedes the handbook many days. It's not right. Black people, when they're enraged or crazy, are not superhuman. They're just enraged, crazy, or sick. You don't have to shoot a naked black man. Throw a net on him.